Kirty. I would like to talk about my project Idea 2020. The title of my project is Games to Avoid Drunken Driving. Drunken driving is one of the most serious problems which our country and all the countries around the world are facing. Almost 70% of the accidents which take place on road are due to drunken driving. People are under the influence of alcohol and other substances while driving, which causes them to lose concentration, which causes accidents in turn. So in this project, what I've tried is we make the user or the driver, play some games or some tests which test whether they are under the influence of alcohol or not. So the first game which I propose is CAPTCHA. They have to fill the CAPTCHA, which makes them concentrate on a particular text and see if they are able to type properly, and which sees also their decision making capabilities. Next, what we do is we study their hand gestures using the accelerometer, which is already inbuilt in the phone. So using these two concepts mainly, we'll be seeing further how this project can be implemented in a manner which can be used and which can be implemented in today's world.
So we've already seen the purpose of the project. Now we'll look through the document. So main is the introduction, where we'll state the idea statement. The main idea is to avoid drunken driving by testing the driver's decision making skills and stability of the mind. The application would be made to run on different platforms on smartphones. It actually is the key to switching on the engine. It forms the second key to switching on the engine. One is the normal mechanical key which the driver has to put in, after which he has to test through this application, which in turn, when he is certified to be sober, in a sober condition, the car will switch on. The application, unlike other ideas, would prohibit the drivers with car under the influence of alcohol to be on the roads. It doesn't make the driver drive on road and then decide whether he is fit to be driving or not. It decides he should start his engine or not. So it can actually reduce drunken driving from the route. And novelty of the project. The whole idea of starting the engine using the smartphone is new. The communication between engine and ECU, engine control unit, and the smartphone will be done using low power Bluetooth. Low power Bluetooth is easily supported by any of the smartphones, and the car ECU also supports low power Bluetooth. It can be extended to support low power Bluetooth. This method to reduce drunken driving largely has not been implemented anywhere in the world at this point. So let's see. Purpose, as we've already talked about, drunken driving, one of the worst reasons for accidents on the road. Almost 70% of the accidents which take place on road is due to drunken driving. Effect of drunken driving. After you get drunk, what it does is night vision and color perception is impaired. Tracking alcohol can decrease the ability to judge the car's position on the road or the location of other vehicles. Your brain, your neural system is not in control, so it's a huge problem. Concentration. Alcohol may cause attention driving or to decrease, or drowsiness occurs. Alcohol affects you in a way that changes your judgment of depth perception, and all the vital motor skills are slowed down. When you are drunk, it is easy to think that you can easily drive to your home or to some other place, but it's not the case. The worst case you can think of is being caught by a police and charged fine, but there are much worse things which can happen like getting into an accident or ending up hurting someone or hurting yourself in the process of driving. The accidents in our country on roads are very high. As I said, 70% of these cases are under the influence of alcohol. Implementation of this app in our country, in other countries which share the same problem, is also an option. The idea aims to develop an application that helps avoid the accidents caused under the influence of alcohol and other addictive substances. So what's the main concept which has to be used in this project? So the main concept which has to be used are the captcha reading. First, what we need to do is read the mindset of a person when he's drunk or under the influence of some substance. So what I've proposed is the captcha reading. Captcha reading is a very effective way of studying if a person is if a person's mind is under his own control or not. When he types the captcha, when he reads the captcha, many of his skills are tested. And second thing, while doing this, we also note down his hand movements and using the accelerometer which is built in the mobile smartphones nowadays. So the second thing which the application would have is a cloud database. Why is a cloud database needed? A cloud database is needed to store the registration numbers or the number plate license of the cars along with its unique key to switch on the engine. This key has to be unique because then if it's not, number of cars you might be wanting to open one car and some other car might get switched on in the process. Just a possibility. Communication between ECU, as we discussed, and the smartphone would be done using low power Bluetooth. And the application would also support SOS system. What is SOS system? SOS system is a system which helps you in times of emergency. These emergency might be caused due to an accident. Even if you are sober, accidents might happen. So what this application would do is help these users or the drivers to call for help from hospitals or police stations nearby. And what other thing it would do is call the person nearest in your contact list or send them a message saying that you are in trouble and you need help, along with your location, which is very important. Next, what are the hardware implementations? So hardware implementations will be using accelerometer and gyroscope mainly. The smartphone is the basic hardware which we'll be using, and no other hardware is actually needed. ECU, engine control unit, is the second hardware which will be used. Next, cloud would be, we'll be using cloud, for which servers will be used. Now, gyro sensor. What's a gyro sensor? Gyro sensor, also known as angular rate sensor or angular velocity sensor, are devices that sense angular velocity. So it's just a sensor which is built in our phones along with the accelerometer. Here is some of the information given about it. It's one of the most common inertial sensors is a accelerometer, and it's a dynamic sensor capable of a vast range of sensing. Next is software implementation. So we'll be implementing this app on Android and iOS, mainly the two most used, which covers more than 94% of the OS running phones, or actually more. Android is Linux based kernel, and Android is used on a large scale in India and throughout the world. Android is by Google. Next is the iOS. iOS is developed by Apple and has grown really well in last 10 years. Implementation of the pseudocode. Yeah, so this is very important. Implementation, the first page will be the main page which launches after the ID. It will have the registration. It will have the registration number. So first what we do is we log into the app. There are two main things. First is the registration, second is the login. So for registration you need to put in car registration number, owner name, phone number and license number. And when you log in, you only have to put your car registration number. And next we have, after this, the app session starts and the key script downloaded from the cloud as per login details. This is the key which would in the end open or start the engine. So this is mainly the first page. All these processes take place on the first page. After you log in, the profile page is launched. In the profile page, registration number which you entered would be displayed. There will be an SOS button service, and down there will be a car details service. But the most important button which will be in the center would be the start button. The start button is to start the engine or start the test first and then in turn start the engine. On pressing the start button, you will come to the games page. The first game which we thought of is captcha. While filling the captcha, another internal process of determining the hand stability using accelerometer and gyroscope will take place. Using this method, the driver is sober or not can be determined, and according to which the car engine would start or a message saying try again would be displayed. And the SOS activity. This activity is for emergency conditions. It can send messages, as we already discussed. It will send messages saying that you are in trouble to the hospitals or the police station and to the contact which is located nearest to you. Next is the car details activity. Car details, it will show all the car details, your driving speeds, your distance covered. It will be able also to read how well you were driving. Were you rash or were you smooth in your driving? Next is all personal details, which is license number, address, phone number, can be viewed and edited. And last is the car details included in the car servicing details. Car details will be there. Last time you serviced your car, when is the next time you have to service your car. On the flowchart. Flowchart, as we already seen above, the same way the flow of the activities go. Log in or register. Once you register, you are included in the database. Then you log in again. Input your registration number. Database would search. Then in the profile page, you'll have the SOS start and view car details. And then launch the game. If you fail, then the message would come, and then if you succeed, the ECU communication will take place using the low power Bluetooth and the engine starts. Next is the use case diagram. Users can also report bugs for the developers to see, and developers will do the necessary. It's again the same thing. Users can register, then log in, SOS system play games, see their own details, according to which SOS system will send email or SMS as saved with the IDs, and play games or start engine. Success, you start the engine. Failure, you have to try again, and a warning message would be displayed. And in case you've tried 4 to 5 times, a warning message can be sent to the near and dear ones saying that you're not in the right state to drive, but you have been trying to drive many times. Pros and cons of the idea. Pros, the application might be able to save lives. One of the main pros is it will save lives of the people who are on the road. and secondly it will save life of the person who's driving or who's not sober while driving. The application might just be able to save huge loss of money in and infrastructure which are damaged due to accidents under the influence of alcohol. The application would actually discourage drinking when someone knows that he needs to drive after that time to home or some other place. The SOS support is not only in drunk cases but also in sober cases. When someone needs help, it's an effective way of rendering help when someone needs desperate help in the worst of situation. Cons: the application is a new method of switching the engine on, taking out the time to take your phone out and then playing the game and then starting the engine. It will be new and tiresome for few in the start, but then if it's able to save lives, I guess that's what it takes. So we come to the conclusion of the project. The conclusion, what we see, and in the future enhancement, the people who drive and the passengers, not only in the car with the driver under the influence but also the others drinking, walking, sleeping on the footpaths, can be saved from a sudden tragic death. The alcoholics who are medically advised and youngsters are the major beneficiary of this project. In future, the game can be shaped in such a way that the time to play it is reduced. And the SOS can be beautifully designed so as to avoid some bad faith and would help better society in a way which is not present today. So with this, I would be ending my review of the project. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to present my project for digital assignment. This is ANSHUMAN DEY KIRTY signing off.